Hey guys, doing a Filthy's first look at Xenonauts 2. This is a early access demo for the sequel to Xenonauts. A game came out in 2014 that I haven't played, but has been recommended multiple times as a game that I ought to go back to, and quite a popular game with the XCOM franchise viewers. So I went into it with kind of high hopes. It's a turn-based, squad-based tactical game with strategic base management and resource management, which are things I tend to enjoy. It's got the XCOM universe to draw upon, so it's kind of the standard XCOM setup. You command a secret organization tasked with resisting a hidden hostile alien invasion that has elements of mind control, elements of dystopian future, elements of Cold War kind of things in it, and you are a low resource, all the eggs in one basket kind of defense of the planet. Had a lot of fun with these in the past. I played a number of XCOM titles. This is both a game design and a atmosphere I tend to enjoy and tend to like playing. I liked the 9-man squads with customizable loadouts and very unique specific stats. There didn't seem to be classes from what I saw. Rather, there seemed to be a set of different statistics that come with your characters, things like accuracy and mobility, survivability. All these things seem to contribute differently to the action economy of the units. It seemed to be highly customizable what you could do with your characters. Now, that's a little bit of extrapolation because the demo stuff that I only played for about an hour, didn't actually have much diversity of loadout or diversity of the way the characters played, but it seemed like this setup was designed to allow that, assuming we get weapons and armors and equipments that play into these. There seems to be enough starting diversity of characters that you would build them and want to build them differently, which means you're going to get different playouts, be able to attempt different strategies, and otherwise get to play with the tactical side of things in a really kind of fun and interesting way. So I liked that initial setup. I also liked the turn-based engagements. I like turn-based strategies anyways. I like them to be nasty and brutish, where you're designed to lose party members, designed to have the replacement of lost pieces be part of the game, and that seems to be there in spades in this game. Characters were squishy, they died. Recruiting and maintaining a barracks was part of the game, culling weak units and taking risks with some units to facilitate the mission all seem to be part of this. All these are things I really, really enjoy in games. And presumably tech paths and base decisions are also going to be relevant. There didn't seem to be much diversity of that in the initial demo, but it looks like it's set up so you're going to have multiple ways to attempt your goals. All these things are things I really enjoy in this type of game, and this game seemed to be delivering those from what I could see. What I didn't like for my first impressions was the UI seemed to not be great. It doesn't seem to be set up for someone trying to quickly move around the components of the strategy game and do this seamlessly. The game uses an hour progression system, so you progress hours and days as things are built, people recover, squads get re-equipped, that kind of thing. But the transition between the world map of this and the actual components of your base, like the barracks or the workshop, was pretty poor. The hour conversions, there was no one list tracking these things. Some of the conversions were in days, while some were in hours, which meant that you couldn't fine-tune a mission that needed to be done in 4 days, but a squad that was coming back in 3 days and 5 hours. Trying to make sure you got that window right was kind of a pain in the ass with the existing interface, so I really didn't like that. 9 units is a lot of units to track. I like the idea of how much diversity in squads that's gonna allow you to do, but it kind of dilutes the individual moment-to-moment unit movement. There's a lot of dead moves, a lot of problems with utilizing cover with 9 units, etc. The enemy AI seemed really bad to begin with, and it kind of bad in an unrealistic way. Maybe if the game did a little bit better job of presenting that enemies controlled by aliens are not very worried about their own health and survivability, and therefore they rush in such a way that they're not going to utilize cover, they're just going to try to score hits on you, maybe then you could roll with that a little bit. But at the moment, they kind of partially used cover, often didn't seem to care about their own survivability in any way, and played in a kind of suicidal, just score any damage on the player kind of mentality, which I really didn't enjoy. I'd need some kind of thematic warm-up to why that might be the case, and then maybe I could interact with that. But as it stood initially, it just felt unrealistic that these humanoid units were just trying to get themselves killed just to score even a little bit of damage on some of my units or take low percentage shots. The aggro system was really initially off-putting. Seemed to be a lot of enemies exist on the map, not in pods. They're already active on the map. As you move around, you often walk into overwatch from enemy units that are hidden in the fog. They come at you from kind of all sides. There doesn't seem to be a unit count or an estimate of the hostilities you're going to be facing. I found it kind of whack-a-mole that stuff shot me from the fog all the time, and as I moved my units forward in kind of a normal way without any insight into what I would be facing, I often just stumbled into things. Maybe this is a problem with the way they brief you or how they set up these missions, but I found that quite unpleasant to play. Felt like it took a lot of the fun out of maintaining and moving a small squad around out of the game for me. Unit actions were also extremely repetitive and one-dimensional for me. Maybe this will change as characters develop a bit, as we get new equipment and new enemy types. But at least in my first look at the demo, I was doing mostly the same things with the same characters, which was moving to cover and trying to take as many shots as my actions allowed with that. But that was really one-dimensional. Did that again and again and again. And then finally, the game was really buggy and crashed. Both had a couple crashes as well as a couple bugs. We had a bug in the tutorial, and then finally, the tutorial itself was also kind of bad. It showed me a little bit of combat, but nothing about the general base management and resource management of the game. Kind of had to extrapolate that out as we were playing it. So to pull all that together, my first impressions of this game were that it had a fun theme, it was in the right genre, it's building on a successful first game. I like this style of game in general. The particular implementation of this, I'm a little worried about the delays the game has had in its development cycle. I didn't think this early access demo was a particularly high quality product in of itself. Had a fair number of bugs, a fair number of lacking quality of life features. For example, it had a tutorial for combat, but no tutorial for base management or general rest of the game kind of mentality, which was off-putting. I think the combat has to be good in games like this. You're spending most of your time as the player making turn-based tactical combat decisions, and if those are not entertaining or unique or challenging or fun, you're going to be in some issues. And with 9 units and very similar actions playing the same across multiple missions, it felt very uninteresting thus far, the combat, and that's going to be a huge problem long term if that is the case. The balance needs to encourage diversity too. Right now, it might. It's tough to tell with the limited look we've had at it if the balance is right or not. If the balance is right, 9 units is going to be great. You're going to be thinking of all sorts of different strategies. You can bring all sorts of different loadouts that would combine well to accomplish specific goals that you presumably have enough intel to make different from run to run. But that's going to be something we see. It's not yet there to know one way or the other. If the balance is off, having 9 unique units isn't going to be that different because you're going to have some very small subset of strategies that are dominant, and you're going to be doing those all of the time. I want to check it out again. I wasn't so thrilled coming out of it, but it is the right genre and type of game that I normally enjoy, that I'm going to be checking it out probably on release. I don't have very high hopes for it. First impressions aren't that great from my perspective, but we'd love this game to end up awesome. So fingers crossed it does, and we'll play a little bit more on stream one way or the other, but I'm not expecting it to be a great thing long term.